Now, the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, has accused the Prime Minister of being a squatter in Number 10.
Yes, in his first outing of the new year, Rishi Sunak has this to say about when Britain will get to vote.
My working assumption is we'll have a general election in the second half of this year, and in the meantime I've got lots that I want to get on with. This Saturday we'll be introducing a significant tax cut for millions of people in work, worth on average £450 for an average worker. Because we've halved inflation, we want to keep managing the economy well and cutting people's taxes, and I want to keep tackling illegal migration. And we cut the number of arrivals last year by over a third, but we've got more to do, and we want to get the Rwanda scheme through Parliament and up and running. So look, I've got plenty to get on with, and that's what I'm focused on doing, delivering for the British people.
Do you know what? It's that key phrase, my working assumption. He doesn't need a working assumption. He's the one and only person in this country who decides when there's a general election. I wonder if he's trying to get people to lay off the Labour Party and things like think, well, we've got 6-7 months, and then suddenly call it.
Maybe just wants to leave it open.
I don't know. I wouldn't. A lot of people saying, well, he's ruled out an election in the first half of the year. I don't think so. Not the way you couched that. The language was very interesting, I thought.
Well, it was only a week ago that the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, said a May election was the worst kept secret in Westminster. Well,
now, if Keir Starmer believes what the Prime Minister is saying, he's got more time to push his policies and dismiss criticism that they're not different enough from the Conservative Party.
If you've spent the last 14 years volunteering to keep your park clean, your library open, for children to have opportunities, if you've been breaking your back to keep trading, steering your business through the pandemic, the cost of living crisis, the challenge of Brexit and the chaos of Westminster, if you've been serving our country, whether in scrubs or in the uniform of your regiment, and what you want now is a politics that serves you, then make no mistake, this is your year. The opportunity to shape our country's future rests in your hands. And that is a New Year message of hope.
Well, let's talk to our political correspondent, Katherine Forster, who's in Westminster for us this morning. I think it's fascinating, Katherine, because obviously we get those words from the PM saying working assumption, which means nothing at all, and you get this tremendous amount of rhetoric from Keir Starmer, but with absolutely no substance.
Yes, fascinating, isn't it? Rishi Sunak yesterday managed to create a lot of noise and a lot of headlines in today's paper with his observation that his working assumption, those are the critical words, I think, is that the general election will be in the second half of next year. Now, as you've quite rightly said, he's the only person that can make the decision. It's entirely in his gift. So he's suggested that it's going to be in the second half of the year, but he's not ruling anything out, and that suits him very well indeed. Meanwhile, of course, we had Sir Keir Starmer make this big speech setting out his stall, if you like, for the election for the coming year. Very broad brush strokes, stressing hope, stressing that they can do things differently, but not very much, I have to say, on detail. And that has been almost entirely overshadowed by the Prime Minister saying there's probably going to be a general election in the second half of next year, but actually he still might change his mind.
And Sir Keir Starmer also gave us an indication of how the campaigning will go. I mean, you indicated earlier we could be looking at later on this year. That's a very, very long campaign, isn't it, Katherine? And Sir Keir Starmer has told the Tories he's going to meet fire with fire, and he's not afraid to go low.
Yes, exactly. I think a lot of people not political obsessives like me will be sort of dreading, in a way, almost potentially a year of the build-up to a general election. We expect the most likely time is November, a week or two perhaps after the American election. We've also got the joy, potentially, of Donald Trump back in the White House. So there's going to be an awful lot of politics. MPs are not even back in Westminster yet. They don't come back till Monday, and yet all this politics already going on. Sir Keir Starmer, yes, saying he would fight fire with fire if necessary. They did have a very widely criticised social media slogans last year, which went down very badly, really personal attacks and really misleading attacks on the Prime Minister. We do expect, unfortunately, because there's obviously a huge amount at stake, that this election campaign will be really quite dirty. Lots of personal attacks. There'll be lots and lots of the Conservatives digging out people that Sir Keir Starmer supported when he was a lawyer, reminding us again and again, no doubt, of his previous support for Jeremy Corbyn, a man that he's now withdrawn the Labour whip from. And, you know, the Labour, both sides are potentially going to get down and dirty, despite the fact that Sir Keir Starmer has said they want to do things differently and has said that if Labour gets into power, they want to clean up politics. I think one of the most interesting comments he made yesterday in his speech was saying that he thought politics should tread more lightly on people's lives. I think a lot of people, you know, of all the dramas that we've had in politics in the last few years, and in the last year specifically when the Conservatives have gone through several leaders, would be happy to have some calm, competent government. Rishi Sunak still thinks that he's got a few months to deliver that, to turn the Conservatives' fortunes around, to bring in tax cuts. We've got the national insurance cut coming this weekend, potentially more in the spring budget, hoping that people will feel better off, perhaps settle the doctors' strikes. But he's got an absolute mountain to climb because, of course, we're in the first week of January. We've got these very damaging doctor strikes going on, the longest in history. No sign of that dispute ending, and people feeling, you know, that public services are not in a good state, and yet taxes currently are at the highest level since the Second World War.
OK. Katherine Forster for us in Westminster, thank you very much.